Be a real Christian. Inspired from an interview with Chad Ripperger and Shawn Ryan. By Truth Seeker. There is a strange rule in modern life that everyone has noticed and almost nobody says out loud. You can mock Christianity in a way you cannot mock anything else. Say something dismissive about Islam, and you are a bigot. Say something careless about Judaism, and doors close on you permanently. Question the reigning ideology of the moment, and you can lose your job before lunch. But make a joke about Christ, put a priest in a film as the villain, hang a crucifix in something foul, and call it art. That's edgy. That's brave. That gets funded. And Christians say nothing. That's the part worth sitting with. Not the mockery, the silence. We were not told to be doormats. Ask most Christians why they let it slide, and you'll get some version of turn the other cheek. We've been trained to hear that line as a command to absorb anything from anyone forever and to call the absorbing holiness. That is not what was said, and it never was. Forgiveness is required of us. It is not optional, and there is no loophole in it. But forgiving a man is not the same as pretending he did nothing. You can hold no bitterness toward someone and still refuse to hand him the thing he's reaching for. Sometimes the most loving thing you can do for a person is tell him no, because handing him what he wants would confirm him in the thing that's killing him. We have collapsed mercy into permission. They're not the same. Mercy that never resists anything isn't mercy. It's absence. A father who never says no to his son is not gentle. He's gone. Somewhere along the line, Christian meekness got swapped out for a kind of soft, apologetic unwillingness to be in the room when a fight starts. We call it charity. It isn't. It's cowardice wearing charity's coat. We can't defend what we never learned. Here's the harder truth, and it's the one that stings because it's ours. Most Christians could not give a coherent account of what they believe if you gave them an hour on a whiteboard. We know a handful of verses, a few songs, the general shape of the thing. Ask why the resurrection is historically defensible, or what the church actually teaches about suffering, or how to answer a sharp atheist on the problem of evil, and the room goes quiet. So one of two things happens. Either we stay silent, which reads to everyone watching as agreement, or we swing and miss. We show up to a serious argument with a bumper sticker, get taken apart, and hand the other side a highlight reel. Every one of those is worse than saying nothing, because the watching world doesn't conclude that guy wasn't prepared. It concludes there's nothing there. You cannot defend a faith you have not studied. Conviction without knowledge is just volume, and volume loses. If you're serious, then be serious. Read. Not devotionals, read the arguments. Know the objections better than the people making them. Know what other religions and other ideologies actually claim in their own terms, not in caricature, so that when you disagree, you're disagreeing with the real thing. Know where your own tradition has failed, because the honest man who owns the failures is 100 times more credible than the one who pretends there weren't any. That's the price of admission. Skip it, and you're just a guy with opinions. How a people gets talked out of its conscience. There's an old observation about how a man loses his convictions, and it doesn't happen in one dramatic collapse. It goes in stages. First, he knows something is wrong, and he does it anyway, just this once in weakness, and he still calls it wrong. Then he does it enough that calling it wrong every time becomes exhausting, so he stops calling it anything. Then he starts calling it fine. Then he starts calling it good. And in the last stage, this is the one we're living in. He turns on the people who still say it's wrong. They're not mistaken anymore. They're evil. They're hateful. They have to be removed from the conversation, then from the job, then from public life entirely. A whole culture can walk that staircase in 3 generations, and ours did. Each generation couldn't correct the next one, because correcting them would have meant convicting itself. The silence got inherited. That's the real transmission, not the sin, the silence about it. And once a society reaches that final stage, disagreement itself is reclassified as violence. That's why you can be sincerely, calmly, non-aggressively Christian and still be treated as a threat. You're not being punished for being cruel. You're being punished for being a witness that the staircase exists. Tolerance was never the ask. Nowhere is the staircase clearer than in what we're now expected to say about sex and identity. Notice the shape of what actually happened because it matters. The original ask was to be left alone. Don't harass us. Don't fire us. Don't legislate against us. Most Christians could live with that, and most did because leave your neighbor in peace is not a hard teaching. It's ours. But that was never where it stopped. Tolerance became acceptance. Acceptance became celebration, and celebration became compulsion. Now, the ask is not that you refrain from mistreating anyone. It's that you say the thing. Put in your email signature. Fly it over the schoolhouse in June. Affirm it in your curriculum, your HR training, your church if they can reach that far. Silence is read as hostility. Disagreement is read as violence. That is a different request entirely, and Christians should be clear-eyed about the difference instead of pretending the second one is just the first one with better branding. Because here's the thing a Christian cannot do: pretend that what God made and called good is arbitrary. The teaching is that we are made male and female, that marriage is one man and one woman ordered toward life, and that our bodies are not costumes or accidents. That isn't a policy preference we adopted recently and can quietly drop when it becomes expensive. It's downstream of the doctrine that a good God made a real world with a real grain to it, and that we are happier running with that grain than against it. And notice that same ethic lands on everyone. It tells the married man to keep his eyes at home. It tells the single man to be chaste and stop treating women as a consumable. It tells the divorced and the addicted and the porn-soaked the same hard thing it tells anyone else. If it were a rule invented to target one group, it would let the rest of us off. It doesn't. It's brutal on all of us, evenly, which is precisely the sign that it isn't personal. So two things have to be true at once, and holding both is the whole test. The first, every person here is made in the image of God, without exception, and is owed the dignity that comes with that. Not tolerated, loved. If your Christianity has produced contempt for a person, sneering, cruelty toward a kid who's confused and frightened, then something has gone wrong in you and no amount of correct doctrine repairs it. There are people who have been driven out of churches by coldness rather than by any teaching, and the church will answer for that. The second, love does not require you to lie. You can love someone and believe they are wrong. Parents do it constantly. Friends do it. It is, in fact, the only kind of love that has ever been worth anything. Because a love that agrees with everything you say isn't love, it's a mirror. What we're being asked for now is the mirror. And a great many Christians have handed it over. Not because they were persuaded, but because the cost of not handing it over got high. And the word hate is a very effective thing to hold over a person who has spent his whole life trying not to be hateful. That's the trap, and it's well built. Aim the accusation at exactly the people whose faith makes them terrified of being unkind, and they'll fold every time. They shouldn't. You are not obligated to accept someone else's definition of hatred. If you hold a 2,000-year-old teaching with no malice toward anyone, and someone insists that the holding of it is itself an act of violence, they are wrong, and their being upset does not make them right. You can say so gently. You should say so gently, but you should say so. The one guy. Notice what happens in a room where everybody privately thinks the same thing and nobody says it. Nothing. Forever. Until one person says it out loud. And then the room changes. Not because he was eloquent, because he made it survivable. He took the first hit, and once the hit has been taken and the man is still standing, the topic becomes discussable. Others find their voice. It turns out most of them agreed the whole time. That's the job. Somebody has to break the ice. And the reason nobody does it is that breaking the ice costs the icebreaker something real: reputation, invitations, the warmth of being liked. That's not nothing. Losing the good opinion of people you care about is a genuine loss, and pretending it isn't makes you sound like you've never had friends. But it's the lesser good. The greater good is that the truth got said in a room where it hadn't been said. Two conditions before you volunteer, though, and they're not negotiable. First, know what you're talking about. Really know it, not, I think I've heard something about that. Second, have the character to eat the consequences without becoming bitter, cruel, or self-congratulatory about it. A martyr complex is not a virtue. If you go into it hungry for the fight, you'll lose the plot in about 6 weeks and become exactly the kind of Christian who makes people not want to be one. I'm offended. You will hear it, probably immediately. The honest answer is that being offended is not an argument. It's a report on your feelings, and feelings are not evidence. Everyone is offended by something. If offense settles disputes, then whoever performs the most distress wins, and that's not a civilization, it's an auction. So the reply is, I'd rather you be offended and know the truth than comfortable and not. Say it kindly. Say it without contempt. Say it without needing to win the exchange in front of an audience. But say it. Because there's a difference between being disagreeable and being unmovable, and most people who've never tried this confuse the two. You can be warm, patient, genuinely fond of the person across from you, and still not move an inch. In fact, that combination is the only one that ever changes anybody. Harshness makes converts of nobody. Neither does surrender. How to actually do it. Principles are cheap. Here's what it looks like on a Tuesday in a break room when it's your turn. Don't apologize for existing. Most Christians lose the exchange in the first 4 words. Sorry, but I just think, no, you're not sorry. And framing your conviction as a personal quirk you're embarrassed about tells everyone listening that even you don't take it seriously. Say what you believe in a flat, unbothered voice, like a man reporting the weather. Confidence is not aggression. It's just the absence of flinching. Make them carry their own argument. You're not required to disprove every claim thrown at you. Ask questions. What do you mean by that? How did you come to that? What would change your mind? Most of what gets aimed at Christians is borrowed, repeated confidently, never examined. 3 honest questions, and a lot of it comes apart on its own, and you never had to raise your voice. Refuse the frame. When someone opens with, "How can you believe something so hateful?" do not start defending yourself inside that word. You didn't agree to it. Say, "I don't accept that description, and here's what I actually believe." Then say it. Whoever gets to define the terms usually wins, so don't hand the terms over out of politeness. Know the difference between a question and an ambush. Some people want to understand. Give them your whole afternoon. Some people want an audience and a scalp. Give them one clear sentence and your silence. You're not obligated to feed a man who's only there to be seen eating you. Walking away is not losing. Sometimes it's the only move that costs him anything. Don't argue with a mob. Groups don't reason. They perform for each other. Take it one-on-one later when the crowd's gone. You'll be amazed how different the same person is when nobody's watching him. No cheap shots ever. No mockery, no sarcasm, no dunking, no scoring points off someone's pain. The second you get cruel, you've handed them proof of everything they already suspected, and every honest bystander stops listening to you and starts listening to them. Your restraint is not weakness. It's the thing that makes your firmness credible. Don't confuse anger with courage. Anger is easy and it feels like strength. Real backbone is quieter. It's still saying the same thing in month 6, calmly, after it's cost you something. Loud men fold fast. Steady men don't. Have a line and know where it is. Decide in advance what you will not do. Not what you'll argue about, what you'll refuse. You will not say the thing you don't believe. You will not sign the statement. You will not teach your kids something you know to be false because a form asked you to. Know the line before you're standing on it. Because in a moment, there's always a reason to move it 6 inches. And 6 inches is how everyone ends up on the other side of the room wondering how they got there. Take the cost without whining about it. If it costs you an invitation, a promotion, a friendship, pay it and don't narrate it. The man who suffers loudly for his faith is asking for a payout in sympathy, and he'll get it. And that's his whole reward. Pay quietly. People notice quiet. Then be kind to the person the next day. This is the one that actually breaks people open. Disagree with him flat out on Tuesday and help him move furniture on Saturday. Nothing in the world confuses a man like being told no by someone who obviously does not hate him. Stop settling. The peace we've been buying isn't peace. It's just the quiet you get when one side has stopped speaking. Real peace can survive disagreement. What we've settled for is something else. A truce where we agree to say nothing, believe privately, keep it out of the workplace, out of the school, out of the public square, and in exchange we get left mostly alone. That's not tolerance. That's a slow eviction with good manners. So be a real Christian. Not a louder one, a real one. Know what you believe and why. Be able to say it in your own words to a hostile stranger without flinching. Forgive freely and concede nothing. Take the hit when it comes and don't hand it back with interest. And when the room goes quiet and everybody's waiting to see if anyone will speak, be that one guy. God bless you. Truth seeker.